Good morning, students. This is continuation of our class with triterpenoids, steroids, and which we have seen even about saponin glycosides. Even last class we have seen diosgenin. And then I told you that is the next class we have to see about the important two drugs, especially digitalis and licorice, the drugs which we are going to discuss today. And to know about little more detail about their cultivation, collection, and their chemical constituents, and also even including their isolation and extraction, if there is any special parameters have to be considered, we have to discuss today. Already we have discussed in the last class regarding the basic steroid and what is the relationship between steroids and triterpenes, that is terpenoids, and usually we are having triterpenes. Why? And we have seen about their structures of about cardiac glycosides, that means cardenolides, bufenolides. We have discussed about that. So we will just go to the directly, we are entering into the drug details, especially we are starting with digitalis purpurea. So we have to study about today two drugs, licorice and also digitalis. First we will start with digitalis purpurea. See the picture of the purple color flowers of digitalis, how beautiful it is, and it is a fantastic, it gives a what we can say, when you say it, the flowers will give some happiness and some enthusiastic energy. Usually it gives to human being. That's why we are interested in gardening flowers. So this flower is beautiful, and that is why the name itself, it says purpurea, digitalis purpurea. Foxglove, digitalis, common foxglove is the synonyms. And this is the pictures, the close-up photographs which we have taken about the digitalis purpurea flowers. So how beautiful it is, and even it has some designs inside there that is somewhat a telescopic like is elongated flower, which is a compound, which we can see that beautiful. And botanical source or biological source, when you say it is, we are depending on dried leaf of digitalis. Even cultivations are done. You can see the workers, the females who are plucking out, and they are removing the leaf without any damage, because it has more cardiac activity and also very therapeutic activity. So they give the importance of the medicinal value of digitalis. So digitalis consists of dried leaves of digitalis purpurea len. After collection of leaves are dried immediately at temperature below 60 degrees centigrade, and then contain no more than 5% moisture, because the leaf will get deteriorated by microorganism. So it is necessary for us to take the precaution in this event. Moisture content plays a major role. After drying leaves, it should be stored in a moisture-proof container. It should be stored in a moisture-proof container. Family Scrophulariaceae, and the geographical source, it is found in European countries, England, France, Germany, North America, and India. In India, it is cultivated in Kashmir and Nilgiris. They are cultivated. So you should know that it is also cultivated and it has more importance in medicinal value. And cultivation and collection of Digitalis purpurea, it is a biennial or perennial herb. It is about 1 to 2 meter in height. The seed of Digitalis are small in size, so they are mixed with sand and then are sowing. Leaves are collected in both the years, but leaves collected when 2/3 of the flowers are fully developed. So we can collect the leaves which it can have the chemical constituents of Digitalis purpurea glycosides. The seedlings is then transplanted into the field. Generally the leaves are collected in the early afternoon with a brief that maximum cardioactive glycosides are present at that time. The leaves are immediately dried after collection below 60 degrees centigrade, and dried leaves are stored in airtight containers. The dried leaves should not contain more than 5% of moisture, since it promotes hydrolysis of cardiac glycosides, resulting in loss of cardiac activity. So that's why we are maintaining the moisture content. This is the leaf in the picture which we can see. The fresh leaves are greenish in color, dark greenish in color, and these leaves are little, you can see the veins can be seen very clearly, and they are little soft also while touching, because they have many trichomes are present in the upper part and the lower part. We can see many trichomes, glandular trichomes as well as unicellular, that is a multicellular trichomes, covering trichomes can also be seen in Digitalis purpurea leaf. And also when you see the dried leaves, it is just the color is changed, little light, dark, or that darkish green, and the green color is changed. You can see that the dried leaf is slightly yellowish green color, which you can see here. And we are now going to talk about the macroscopical character. So you know that what is the difference between macroscopical and microscopical character. The drug which is used here, the part which is used in Digitalis purpurea is leaf. So leaf morphology, leaf macroscopic character, we have to see that. We have given only the list of some 12 points, but they all are very simple points. Simple points. Botanical names. You can see general appearance usually broken and crumpled because they are dried leaf. Shape, usually the leaf is ovate lanceolate. Ovate lanceolate. Size is 10 to 40 centimeter long, very large long leaf. 40 centimeter long, 10 to 40 centimeter long leaves are also available, and 4 to 10 centimeter wide. Margin is crenate and dentate. Crenate and dentate. Apex is obtuse and rounded. Base is tapering, decurrent. Upper surface slightly pubescent, dark green, little wrinkled, one water pore present near each tooth of the sides of the leaf. Lower base greenish green, very pubescent. Venation, veins can be easily seen. Venation, pinnate, midrib can be seen lateral veins can be seen, vein eyelet still, smaller veinlets prominent on the under surface, lateral vein leaves in middle rib at the acute angle and anatomize on the margin. We can see the veins very clearly even in the dried leaves also. Petioles wrinkled 2.5 to 10 centimeter long, the leaf petioles. Odor is characteristic, it has a special characteristic odor. Taste is bitter. Taste is bitter. So digitalis is dorsiventral and can be easily identified due to the presence of characteristic simple covering and glandular trichomes which are shown in the picture. Covering trichomes which 3-4 cells. You can see glandular trichomes, sometimes single cell, bicells and 3-4 cells in the gland, and the unicell stalk like glandular trichomes can also be seen. That is what we have seen. Simple covering and glandular trichomes presence is a great identification for a digitalis leaf. The covering trichomes are uniserrate, usually 3 to 4 cell long, having collapsed cell, acute apex, sharp, and finally warty cuticle, thick cuticle. The glandular trichomes have a short unicellular stalk and bicellular or rarely unicellular head. Usually bicellular, 3-cellular, bicellular. I have shown somewhat 3-4 cells are present in the picture, but usually bicellular or unicellular of gland will be seen usually in the digitalis. These glandular trichomes are usually located over the veins. In the vein area, usually the glandular trichomes. Other area you can see the covering trichomes. There is difference in the covering trichomes and both the trichomes are present in the leaves. Further, anemocytic or ranunculaceae type of stomata. Stomata, there are very types of stomata is there. You might have studied in stomata type in botany, that is parasitic, anemocytic, cruciferous, like that many type of according to the cells which is arranged around the stomata. You can see here the anemocytic, the cells are around, you can see that these 4 cells are different parts which is connected with the stomata part in the middle. Stomata is this hole which is used for the respiration purpose in the plant through the leaves, and you can see that anemocytic type of stomata is present mainly in the lower surface of the leaf, lower base or lower epidermis. See, this is a simple picture about microscopic. Just before going to the details about microscopy, we should know how a leaf structure will be there. So this is a picture leaf. You might have seen the leaf is like this. When you make a transverse section of the leaf, you can see the midrib. This is a midrib region. The round one is midrib. Midrib, there will be a projected midrib. The vein, the middle vein will be there, the larger one, that is the midrib, and the side one you can see the blade. Side one it will go lengthy, but we have made into short. So you can see the parts which are present in them. So you can see there is upper epidermis, lower epidermis in a leaf, and you can see that is the area of the blade, the midrib and the blade of the leaf, the veins are going, that way you can see the trichomes are in the upper epidermis and even in the lower epidermis, and you can see there are longer cells, they are palisade cells, and mesophyll soft parenchyma cells, and even collenchyma cells will be in the upper epidermis and below area, and also lower epidermis below area, and even in the midrib region also you can see collenchyma cells will be present. So collenchyma is one of the identification cells will be present in the middle region, upper epidermis, lower epidermis and also the midrib region. There will be a vascular area, that means phloem, phylum, xylem and phloem will be there in the midrib region. Below that also colonchema, round cells, thicker round parenchymatic cells, that is called colonchematic cells, also will be present there. Mesophyll area is present in the side blade area, which is soft cells of parenchymatous, and there will be an endodermis area in the midrib region, and also trichomes, which we have discussed. So there are pericyclic fibers will be present in them. Mainly you should know that here we cannot see any type of calcium oxalate crystals in digitalis purpurea. It is a great identification or always a marketing which you should know that it doesn't have calcium oxalate crystals or prisms may not be present in this digitalis leaf structure. So you can see here microscopical character. First we are talking about the lamina, not the midrib, the lamina, that means the blade, both the sides. You can see the leaf, lamina area, upper epidermis, which is present in it, and even also in the midrib region also upper epidermis will come, and a single layer and more or less rectangular cells having a distinct cuticle, thick cuticle, outer area above the epidermis. Abundant covering and glandular trichomes emerge from the upper epidermis, covering trichomes and uniserate, multiserate, 3 to 6 celled, mostly straight, warty, and with a blunt tips. You can see the trichomes. Certain cells of trichomes or covering trichomes are collapsed, thus forming a diagnostic feature for the identification of digitalis leaf. A glandular trichomes are either unicellular or bicellular, terminal through rare stalk having unicellular or bicellular terminal gland. Few stomata are also seen in upper epidermis. Usually stomata are seen in the lower epidermis, sometimes even it is seen in the upper epidermis. And you see the mesophyll region in the lamina area, mesophyll region, it is differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma, lengthy, spongy parenchyma, soft. Calcium oxalate crystals of any type are absent in digitalis. This is what from the beginning I told. It is an identification you have to remember. Don't write calcium oxalate crystals are present in digitalis. It doesn't have absence of calcium oxalate crystals. Palisade cells, one layer, compact with radially elongated cells. Spongy parenchyma, soft, 4 to 6 layer, and many distinct obliquely cut out vein are seen in the area. And lower epidermis, we are talking about the lower epidermis which comes to the lamina and also to the midrib area. There are similar to the upper epidermis, has many stomata especially, and more trichomes compared with those of upper epidermis you can see in the lower epidermis. Midrib region, we are coming to the midrib region, middle area, that is a middle vein, where is like down, that is the midrib region. There you can see the dorsal surface of the midrib is strongly convex. Dorsal surface is convex, and usually the epidermal layer of the lamina continues over the midrib, the dorsal region over the midrib, below the upper epidermis, above the lower epidermis are seen thin strips of colonchema. As before I told, colonchema cells are present below the upper epidermis and above the lower epidermis, and also nearing to the midrib region, that is middle middle region of vascular bundle area also you can see colon-chema cells. The vascular bundles are surrounded by a distinct endodermal layer. The cells contain abundant starch. They contain abundant starch. Within the endodermis appear a band of colon-chema. There also you are having colon-chematous pericyclic as well as colon-chema cells. Distinct phloem cells, tissues can be seen in dorsal surface and well-developed xylem tissues toward the ventral surface of the midrib. So how we can see the xylem and phloem? Xylem is lignified cell. So when there is lignified, when you use fluorouracil staining fluid, you will get pinkish color, which can be easily identified. The vascular bundle presence in the midrib region can be seen in the digitalis purpurea leaf transverse section. And you see, now we are coming to the chemical constituents of digitalis purpurea. Digitalis purpurea contains 35 glycosides. Number 1, primary glycosides are purpurea glycoside A and B. It also contains uracil H, glucogitaloxin, viridoxin and glucoviridoxin is also present in them. And you can see the main glycosides, the digitoxygenin, gitoxygenin. When you are studying, you study like this: digitoxygenin, gitoxygenin are the important medicinal compound, 3 of them. They are also called as secondary glycosides. They contain even there is androgen derivatives like digitolutein and methoxy-2-methyl androquinones are also present in digitalis, but mainly we have to see about the digitoxygenin, gitoxygenin, and contains saponin, flavonoids, tannins and pectins in the leaf. And you see the structure which I have given here. It is very simple. If you remember what I said yesterday regarding steroidal structure, you have to remember steroids are cardiac glycosides. They have the steroidal structure A, B, C, D. What is that A, B, C, D? A, B, C is a phenanthrene ring structure with 3-6 member ring, and D is cyclopentano structure which is present there. Can you see it? Where I have written digitoxygenin with numbering. And in the 17th position of cyclopentano structure in the D, 17th position, there will be a lactone ring with 5-membered lactone ring on double bond, which is called as cardinolites, that we have studied yesterday. Am I right? If I am right, you should remember what we have seen in the last class. So you have to see that it is a lactone ring of 5 members. So it is a cardinolite derivative, and it is a cardiac glycoside which is digitoxygenin, and a very clear substitution, that is called digitoxygenin. So next comes, you can see the digoxygenin. What is the digoxygenin? Digitoxygenin and digoxygenin, what is the difference? One OH group present in the number 12. The position number 12 in phenanthrene ring structure, there is one OH which gives digoxygenin. And what is the difference in gitoxygenin? Only one OH is present in 16th position of cyclopentano D ring, cyclopentano ring, D ring, cyclopentano phenanthrene, that is cyclopentano ring, that is D ring, we are having in the 16th position. If there is OH, that is called gitoxygenin. Now the student should be clear, there is no need to study at all. Now itself you have to make it clear. Digitoxygenin means the basic structure of phenanthrene with cyclopentanol group of a steroid with A, B, C, D, and in 17th position if there is a 5-membered lactone ring inside one double bond, then it is called digitoxygenin. And in this structure, if there is a OH in the phenanthrene ring structure, that is C number 12, then it is digoxygenin. Then if suppose if there is a OH present in the 16th position of the cyclopentanol ring D ring, then it is called gitoxygenin. So digitoxygenin, digoxygenin, gitoxygenin is clear now for the student to remember the structure. Now you see the various hydrolysis. Purpurea glycoside A undergoes enzymatic hydrolysis. It can give digitoxin, that is digitoxygenin. We have already seen digitoxygenin glucose can be removed, and again when it is hydrolyzed you can go gitoxygenin of 3 digitoxose can be removed, and purpurea glycoside B enzymatic hydrolysis is gitoxin, gitoxygenin also we have seen, and then it can give glucose. Gitoxin can also undergo hydrolysis and give gitoxygenin 3 digitoxose. So very simple, even the bottom, what is the structure? Just they have shown the change in the 16th and 12th position of a steroidal ring structure, and you have to remember how the OH is distributed and how they are writing the gitoxygenin and how it is obtained from the ring structure. Once you write the structure and if you write the OH group where you have to write, it will be very easy for you to undergo the writing the structure. For if you know the basic structure of cholesterol and just remove the side chain, and you have to know that 17th position of cyclopentanol phenanthrene derivative, 17th position where you are having a 5-membered lactone ring, then it is an cardiac glycoside or cardiolipase which is mainly present in digitalis purpurea, so that you can write the structure of digitoxin, digoxin and also gitoxin. These 3 structures are very important in cardiac glycosides. There are many, but still I am just insisting for the students to study these 3 structures and how without any mistake you can write very clearly and very simple structure to write for you and to impress the examination paper. And uses, what are the uses of cardiac glycosides, especially the digitalis? It is a cardiotonic, used in various forms like tablets or capsules in the treatment of congestive heart failure or congestive cardiac failure, arterial flutter and atrial fibrillation and proximal atrial tachycardia. In arrhythmias they are used, and diuretic in cardiac edema. It can increase the urine output, reduce the blood volume, and allied drug substituent. Allied drug for digitalis lenita is an allied drug because it is also having very highly important constituents. All are present. Digitalis lenita we cannot, it can be used as a substituent. So I have given not in detail, also it is needed about to study, but still we can have only the synonym. Woolly foxglove leaves, it is also called as woolly foxglove leaves, that one is foxglove leaves, Australian digitalis. And the biological or botanical source, it consists of dried leaves of digitalis lenita. Earhart is a scientist name, family is Scrophulariaceae. This is also comes to the Scrophulariaceae. Adult trends are there sometimes, because as the leaves are costly, sometimes the Traders can adulterate, but they may not have the constituents. It can be identified by pharmacists by means of their microscopical and macroscopical characters. Like primrose leaves, leaves of Primula vulgaris, Hertz family Primulaceae, and comfrey leaves, leaves of Symphatium officinalis Linn and family Boraginaceae, bullion leaves, leaves of Verbasicum tufseus Linn, family Staphyloraceae. These all are adulterants. They may not have the main constituents. Now we want to see the powdered microscopy of Digitalis purpurea. To identify, you should know that what all the main Digitalis purpurea may be there. You can see in the picture, that is trichomes, glandular trichomes, unicellular, bicellular, glandular trichomes, and covering trichomes may be seen. Glandular trichomes is shown in the tree, and you can see the animocytic stomata can be seen, and also palisae cells can also be seen very clearly. Colon-chymatous cells also can be seen by means of powder microscopy when you identify in an 45x in compound microscope. And identify the character of Digitalis powder. Number one, trichomes, both covering and glandular, sometimes in fragments, broken, and covering trichomes, multicellular, 3 to 6 cells with blunt tips and finely warty thick cuticle may be present. Certain cells of trichomes are often collapsed, leaving behind only a cell wall. Glandular trichomes, they less numerous and both unicellular and multicellular stalk and bicellular and multicellular terminal glands, like that we can see. Stomata we know animocytic, ranunculaceae family stomatas can be seen. Negative character, absence of calcium oxalate crystals. And you can see organoleptic character, odor pale green powder, slight odor and bitter taste is an identification. Now we are coming to licorice root. Licorice, you can see it is also called as, you can see, Irati Maduram in Malayalam and Adi Maduram, Irati Maduram, like that. There is a lot of names they used to call in Ayurveda, and it is more used of root and rhizome, which is very, very common. Glycyrrhiza glabra is the botanical source. Glyceritin is the main constituent which is present. It is a saponin glycoside. So we should know that saponin glycosides, which may have the steroidal and triterpenoidal structures which may be present. Glyceritin, already we have seen in the last class itself the structure of glyceritin and isolation of triterpenes, and here also this is a very important structure or very important component which is very commonly used by our traditional practitioners in Ayurveda, Siddha and various other traditional practitioners and traditional medicine. And synonym for licorice, Multi, Radix glycericae, licorice, Jetimat and Estimadu. Botanical source and biological source, it consists of subterranean peeled or unpeeled stolons, roots and subterranean stems of Glycyrrhiza glabra Linn, family Leguminosae. Geographical source, it is produced in a number of countries like Iran, Russia, Spain, Greece and India. Cultivation of licorice, it is cultivated by planting rhizome or stolons, cutting in deep, rich, loamy, fertile soil in row about 4 feet apart in March. Addition of farmyard manure has favorable effect on the growth of the plant. Collection of the drug is carried out in autumn. In the third or fourth year, by which time extensive development of subterranean parts has taken place. Rhizomes, stolons and roots are dug out, buds and rootlets removed, washed, cut into pieces of usually 20 centimeter length and dried in sun. In some cases, drug is peeled before drying. Peeled drug is used for direct administration, but in preparation tincture or liquid extract, we use unpeeled drug is used. That is the simple difference. Macroscopical character. What is the macroscopical characters of this Adimaduram or Ireti Maduram, licorice root? Condition: dry, occurs in peeled or unpeeled form. Shape is cylindrical. Surface outer, if you see yellowish brown and longitudinal wrinkles. Unpeeled, peeled ones are yellow color with fine longitudinal ridges. In case of stolon, scars of the buds can be seen. Fracture, coarsely fibrous in the bark region and splintery in the wood, the middle. Fracture surface shows long fibers projected outwards. Odor is characteristic. Taste is sweet. That is why it is called Maduram. So it is sweet in taste. See the structure of the TS, transverse section, which is taken of the root. It has a cortex, dead cells, rectangular, lengthy, brown, dark, brownish matter, and calcium oxalate crystals is present in this structure. Very clear here, calcium oxalate prisms are present abundantly, various places. Starch also present in the phloem, phloem, medullary rays. Then comes the xylem, where phloem, xylem, everything will come to the root area like stem. So phloem fibers, crystal sheath, that means calcium oxalate crystal sheath, medullary rays, elongated longitudinal cells, that is rectangular cells which can be promptly seen, and vessels, xylem vessels which can be seen in a pink color if you strained by fluoroglucinol, and xylem fibers also can be seen, fibers also, lignified fibers which can take the pinkish in color can be seen, and there also near to the pith in the center part of the root, you can see even there also near to that crystals, calcium oxalate crystals can be seen. Pith or youngster xylem, which doesn't have much, that is young xylem, that is you can see it is developing. So you can see that pith also can be seen with the round cells which can be seen in the microscopical character. Now the explanation: the outermost part, cork, periderm, phelon, that is several layers with tabular cells as shown in the picture. Outer layer are filled with reddish brown content and inner few are colorless. Phelogen, indistinct phloem, 3 to 5 layered immediately below the cork cells. Parenchymatous cells whose corner thicken with cellulose. Collenchymatous cells. Some cells contain prisms of calcium oxalate and minute starch grains are also present in them. Next one, secondary phloem, wide zone of numerous concentrically arranged bundles of phloem fibers and bundles is surrounded by a parenchymatous sheath whose cells contain prisms of calcium oxalate. Radially, the fiber bundles alternated fibers, xylem fibers, with soft phloem elements and tangentially with medullary rays, which promptly we can see in the picture. And medullary rays, when you want to see distinct by two, sometimes bi or multiserrate parenchymatous in continuation with those of xylem. However, the rays are narrower in the xylem region and becomes wider in the phloem region. Narrower in the xylem region and wider when it comes to the phloem region. And you can see that very clearly, the secondary xylem region, well represented, divided like phloem by large medullary rays and regular intervals. Xylem consists of xylem vessels, fibers, lignified wood parenchyma. They are lignified. They will get pink in color when you add fluoroglycinol staining fluid, as they contain lignin. The vessels, fibers are lignified wood parenchyma vessels which are relatively wide, show scalariform and broaden pith dotted pith thickenings can be seen. Wood fibers are also unsheathed by a layer of parenchyma containing crystals. Starch is present in wood parenchyma, and the pith in the center part consists of large parenchyma which is in intercellular space and containing few starch grains. So you can see here abundantly everywhere calcium oxalate crystals and prisms are seen in this drug. So you have to be very careful. Here calcium oxalate crystals are seen. Starch grains are also seen in very fine minute things are seen. Chemical constituents, already we have seen about glycyrrhizin in what is the structure in the previous class itself about the saponin glycoside which is present in Glycyrrhiza glabra, and this is the glycyrrhizin structure. You can see that it is an triterpene saponin glycoside which has phenanthrene 3 6-membered ring plus again 2 6-membered ring attached. There is no 5-membered cyclopentano group is not there like in steroid. So you can see that it has an additional, there is 5 6-membered ring structure are there, and an acid group, acid functional group is present. One or twice if you write it is, and also it is linked with 2 molecules of glucose as an glycosidal linkage in the CH3 with O group. It is a OH group is attached O's, and automatically it is becoming a glycoside glycyrrhizin. So saponin glycoside, glycyrrhizin and glyceritic acid are present. Flavonoids, leucyrotin, leucyrotigenin, isoleucyrotigenin is also present. Coumarin derivatives, herniarin and umbelliferon is also seen in this drug. Bitter principle, glyceramarin is also present. And aspartase, beta sitosterol, starch, resin and malic acid is also present. An identification test for, specific test for liquorize, when sulfuric acid 80% weight by volume is added to a thick section or a drug powder, and instantly produce a deep yellow color can be seen. That is an identification test for liquorize. Isolation, already we have seen a general isolation technique by means of solvent extraction method yesterday for triterpenes. This is specifically we have some isolation technique for glycyrrhizin to be isolated. So that's why it is added. It's not a very big thing. It's a small 3 types of them. The isolation of glycyrrhizin from Glycyrrhiza glabra is based on its solubility. Glycyrrhizin is soluble in hot water, alcohol, but slightly soluble in cold water and insoluble in ether. Insoluble in non-aqueous solvent, ether. So that is the main concept which can be used for this isolation from this crude drug. So there are three methods of isolation are: 1. Acid precipitation method. Number 2. Alcohol extraction method. Number 3. Ammonia extraction method. So we will see one by one. Number 1. Acid precipitation method procedure. Weigh 50 grams of liquorized powder. Add 300 ml water in a beaker. Boil with stirring. Decant the supernatant liquid. Filter. Keep a funnel with a filter paper, filter, or you can Buckner funnel you can use. Residue collect and collect the filtrate. Adjust the pH 2.8 by an addition of acid, glycerin, then addition of an acid. If you add an acid, that is why it is called acid precipitation. Filtrate will contain glycyrrhizin. So when you add an acid, immediately glycyrrhizin is precipitated out. Now you filter and collect the precipitate. Now you have to collect the residue. Previously the residue will be thrown. Filtrate is taken. Now you are taking the residue. Wash the precipitate with cold water. We know that cold water glycyrrhizin will not solubilize. So wash to cold water to make it free from the acid which you have used. And transfer this precipitate to the china dish, heat gently and remove the water content, and the shiny brown mass of glycyrrhizin is seen. Very simple procedure to isolate the glycyrrhizin. First one. Number 2, alcohol extraction method procedure. Here also we weigh 50 grams of powder of liquorized or Glycyrrhiza glabra in a 500 ml beaker and 100 ml of methanol. Mix it and add another 100 ml of methanol and left for 24 hours or leave for 24 hours. Filter and collect the filtrate now. The extract of methanol extract, you have to extract the methanolic extract what you collected with 3 portions of petroleum ether. Subsequently you have to go for benzene and then ethyl acetate, that is chlorinium and solvent ether. So all these 4 solvent which you are using, the glycyrrhizin is insoluble. You want to remove all the impurities, all the fatty substances, all the unwanted fatty substances, all the unwanted impurities have to be removed from the methanol extract which you have done before. So you are again extracting with the immiscible non-polar solvents like petroleum ether, benzene, ethyl acetate, chlorine and ether. These all of them are used, and then you are transfer this. Now the methanol layer is transferred to china dish. Evaporate. The methanol is not needed. You will get dry glycyrrhizin in the china dish. This is about alcoholic type of extraction method. And now we are coming to the third one, ammonium extraction method procedure. Ammonium, not ammonia, ammonium hydroxide. The glycyrrhizin is extracted with hot water first and filtered. The filter is acidified with sulfuric acid with 2.8 as you did before the first experiment, first step. And precipitate is now we are dissolving with dilute ammonium hydroxide and pour it with acetone. Now you are again adding with acetone and precipitate ammonium glycerinate. Ammonium glycerinate is precipitated out. The precipitate is dissolved in again hot water and evaporated to get ammonium glycerinate. that is recrystallization, you are getting ammonium glycerinate. So this is also another ammonium extraction method can be, you can get ammonium glycerinate, glycerinate can be obtained. So estimation now is the amount, how much you have obtained, how much you have got extract yield. If the amount can be easily identified by means of various method, thin layer densitometry instrument or colorimetric method can be performed, or UV spectroscopic method can be performed, or high performance thin layer chromatography method can be performed, or high performance liquid chromatography method can also be performed for this identification, or this quantitative estimation can be done. Uses of liquorize, demulcent, expectorant, tonic, laxative, diuretic, emollient property, and anti-inflammatory agent, spasmolytic agent, for cough it can be used, and for peptic ulcer it can be used, and chewing gum it is added, chocolate, candy, cigarette, and chewing tobacco can also be added with this liquorize. Apart from that, there is 7 amazing benefits of Ayurveda herb, our traditional medicine. They have 7 amazing benefits of Glycyrrhiza glabra. Estimadu, that means Irattimaduram, or you can say it is called as Adimaduram and Estimadu. There are many names which is very commonly we are using. It has 7 applications. Number 1, hyperacidity, gastritis, already we have discussed. Treating ulcers, stomach ulcer, peptic ulcer, mouth ulcers can be used. Managing liver disease, the root can help manage non-alcoholic fatty liver disease by reducing the elevating liver enzyme. It can elevate the liver enzyme according to Ayurveda. Although this may be a cure for liver disease, it can help in managing the condition when taken with other liver protective herbs like Brinjaraj, Giloy, and Punarnava. And reduce blood sugar level. This is another an amazing, because we say it is a sweetening and it is very sweet, but it has effect in reducing blood sugar level. Diabetic patients can be used for this Adimaduram. Quite contrary to the name of sweet root given to the herb, liquorice root has anti-diabetic property and hence considered effective for diabetic patients. Therefore, if you are diabetic with high blood sugar level, liquorice root can indeed be of help. However, if you are already on diabetic medicine, it is necessary to check with your blood sugar levels and adjust the dosages on consulting with your doctor before consuming consuming liquorice powder or liquorice Glycyrrhiza glabra. And preventing cancer also. The 5th one is preventing cancer. It is said that liquorice can protect against carcinogenic DNA damage, and this is because the root has certain polyphenolic compounds. They can kill the cancer cells. Further studies have revealed that liquorice root can be a potent alternative to chemotherapy in killing cancer cells, as it comes with lesser side effect. So you see how much beneficial it is there for cancer patient. And skin care, it is used for skin care also. Liquorice is an excellent for skin care, as it works well for all skin types, being a natural demulcent, smoothing, and it exhibits a mild smoothing, brightening action on the skin. When used in a serum, cleanser, spot treatment, and a mask, it can be used as a mask and removed, peeled off. It helps in issues such as hyperpigmentations, darkness, pigmentation it can remove, and sun damage, sun protection it can give, leaving a skin bright and clear. And extracts of the roots are protective medicine for red, acne, prone skin. So how much useful in the cosmetics, you can see that it is also having much use in the skin. Hair care licorice has several properties that suit the scalp, helping in get rid of irritation such as scalp and dandruff when used with henna, and it acts as a good hair conditioner, resulting in silky, shiny hair. No wonder that the herb has been referred to as cassia in Ayurveda. Substituents and adulterants. Manjurian licorice is obtained from Glycyrrhiza iranensis. Color is chocolate brown and cork exfoliating. Anatomically also it shows peculiarity based on which one can distinguish. The medullary rays, when you see in microscopy, medullary rays are curved, not straight, curved, presence of lacunae, gaps will be there, can be seen in the wood. Being a substitute, it does certain contain glycyrrhizin and active principle, but very little and free sugars are there. It contains glycyrrhizin. It can be used as an what you can substituent. Common adulterant, but adulterant is different. We cannot use adulterant, wild licorice, and it is called also Indian licorice, derived from roots of Abrus precatorius leguminaceae family, but it is adulterant. The root is very toxic due to an alkaloid present, that is abrine alkaloid, which is present in this Abrus precatorius, and therefore should not be used in the place of licorice. It should not be used in the place of licorice. It is an adulterant. But you can use that other one, Manjurian licorice, can be used. And the root possesses a peculiar disagreeable odor and bitter, acrid flavor, leaving faintly sweet after taste. And microscopically, the adulterants are characterized by stone cells. Dead cells will be more when compared to the original licorice, that is glabra, that means Glycyrrhiza glabra. So that is the original drug. And then powder microscopy of the licorice also we have to see that is original and duplicate can be analyzed by the powder, or even by the taking the drug we can analyze. The organoleptic characters, you can see that is original drug will be pale, yellowish brown, odor will be faint, and characteristic taste will be sweet. There will not be any acrid taste. And fibers, you can see the fibers, they are yellow color fibers in microscope, bundle of 10 to 15, and tips of bundles appear fringed like, and they are that are electric cable, like electric cable you can see. And calcium oxalate crystals can be seen very abundantly here. Parenchymatous sheath and a small parenchymatous cell crystal sheath can be obtained, can be seen in the powder microscopy. Each contain a single prism of calcium oxalate, encircle and above fibers. Scattering prisms are also seen, most twin prisms. And wood elements, you can see wood elements, pinkish color, wood elements, xylem, and vessels large with numerous broadened pits, dotted pits, not pits, pits will be seen. Starch grains, both simple and compound, and minute, can also be seen, oval, oblong. If you see the starch grains in the microscope, there are different types of starch grains can be identified. It is also a practical which you have to do to see what is the difference in the rice starch, potato starch, and different starches are having sometimes hilum, and what is the shape of the part, the one grain can also be seen very clearly. And this is a picture of the powder microscopy of liquorice. You can see the number 4 is the woody materials, which will be pink in color. Number 3, you can see calcium oxalate crystals can be seen, and even this wood elements, and 2 and 3 you can see that these vessels can be seen in this form, and some of the even cells, Kark cells can also be seen, which is not shown in the picture. Even it can be seen in the powder microscopy. But lignified cells will be more prompt and to identify, and calcium oxalate crystals can also be seen very clearly like prismatic, and wood elements can also be seen in liquorice powder. Anyhow, thank you for being with me, and we will see in the next class with the chapter, the next, in the same second unit. We are going with different crude drugs in different sections. We'll go for the next session in the next class. Thank you. We'll see you in the next class.